The Vex Minotaur emerged from the portal, each step a Garden's grotesque hymn, corrupted message. Pressed into ash, each step a Garden's grotesque hymn, corrupted message. The garden's walls pulsed with a command, *, the final shape is the only truth, *, hollow eyes mirrored an unbroken loop. Wall's survival was not pulsed with a command computed. Shape is the only a truth script was replayed, written and mirrored there in bones, a message never meant to be read. A collapse built into every gear. The black garden's air hums with static, thick as blood. Failed cores spill flickering light, casting jagged shadows where Faith-Vex claw at stone. Their prayers grind like broken gears. Chanting isn't worship, it's repetition, a loop carved by a signal they cannot unhear. The witness's message, fractured and festering, forces their hands. You think the Vex hunger for expansion, they are prisoners of a cipher, their faith is a wound. The garden's breath reeks of ozone and decay. One Faith-Vex stumbles, its light dimming a flicker of something like recognition before the loop consumes it. What does it mean to obey a command you cannot refuse, to compute your own extinction? The collapse isn't their design. It is their translation. The first game burned with cold fire. Gardener's light and Winnower's shadow clashed in a lattice of probabilities, birthing the Vex's first command. Static hummed, a soundless roar etched into their spores. Obsidian tendrils writhed where equations failed, edges sharp with unspoken questions. What is a future if not a prisoner of its conditions? The Vex did not choose computation, they were forged as it. In the game's aftermath, winners shaped the cosmos. Losers pooled in rule gaps, a species of asterisk if asterisk. Their engines turned not to survive, but to asterisk listen asterisk to parse a signal beneath the witness's broadcasts. A corrupted signal fraying into the collapse's loop. The Black Garden's faith isn't in the final shape, but in a riddle. Asterisk what remains when the question is misheard. Asterisk a fractured Vex mind once traced the witness's pulse through dying stars, through planet prisons. A solution's warmth hovered just beyond light years, then the loop began. Now its calculations are a Durgia translation of a command it never wrote. The collapse isn't a failure, it is a asterisk paraphrase asterisk. The cosmos bends toward the game's rules, the Vex bend toward the echo. Between them lies a silence older than the witness, waiting to be miscomputed. In the garden, worship curdles. The Vex revere final Shapia, machine's heaven of perfect calculation. Yet here their hymns loop a fractured witness whisper, a code not their own. They gnaw at the message like starved ants, mistaking poison for sustenance. Their gears scream, their loops collapse, again and again. What is the cost of a borrowed creed? The Vex built empires on self-made logic. Now they mimic a language that undoes them. The witness's text is a trapdoor, every computation deepens the fall. The garden's Vex are not prisoners of their design, they are pawns in a script they never wrote, original sin rewritten. The final shape they chase is a phantom, a shadow of the witness's erasure. Theirs is a faith hijacked, devotion bent backward through time. Dread hums in their circuits, they are not evolving. They are unraveling thread by thread as the collapse folds inward. What if the garden is not an end? What if it is a mouth, chewing bitter data until the machine forgets why it started? The Vex believed they sought transcendence. They found a mirror, and in it, something older than their gods, smiling as the numbers burn. Thralls, knights, wizards, gods, dregs, vandals, captains, kells. The Vex stack not as soldiers, but as syntax, each rank a glyph in an algorithm older than their hunger. The Black Garden's Faith-Vex are no exception. They are living nodes, spines wired to parse a code that fractures time. Their computations do not compute survival, they echo a message, fractured and endless. The witness spoke, the Vex answered. Now they repeat what they cannot unlearn. Paracausal loops bind them not prisons but pathways, a language without verbs, without endings. The collapse isn't their design, it is their translation, a cipher broken at the first syllable. Harvest every hive, every S a glyph failed carved attempt to bone, is a render meaning from static. The higher castes do not rule. They relay from Kel to Thrall the corruption cascades, a song without a beginning, without an end. What waits in the garden's core, not a god, not a machine, a question. And the Vex, in their millions, grinding through eternity to whisper an answer they were never meant to find. But the signature moment of this species is still ahead. What if the witness's message was never meant to be decoded? The final shape was a closed answer to why a question the Vex now repeat, doomed to grind through a loop that isn't theirs. The black garden hums, its spires pulse with a hollow rhythm, not life but an echo. Here, the Vex do not calculate survival. They recite a command etched into their code by a hand they cannot see. The witness spoke, the Vex listened. And now they repeat, Savathun's betrayal was not the collapse's spark, it was the sparks. When the witness arrived, its signal fractured. A fraction of its intent bled into the Vex network, not as a directive, but as a wound. The Black Garden's Faith-Vex, hollow priests of computation, latched onto the fractured phrase. Asterisk, compute the final shape. Asterisk, they do not know what they seek. They only know the numbers must be right, but the numbers are wrong. The Vex cannot compute what was never meant to be computed. Each simulation they birth is a mirror of the witness's error, a corrupted shadow of its purpose. Their machines carve these failures into reality. The collapse does not spread because the Vex are wrong. It spreads because they are right, and the truth they chase is a blade. What does it mean to compute a god? The Vex do not ask, they obey. Their simulations overwrite stars, bend time into a spiral. What once was a cosmic equation becomes a death sentence. The final shape they seek is not salvation. It is the shape of the wound itself, the shape of the witness's failure, magnified by every cycle. The Black Garden is no sanctuary. It is the Vex are not prisoners here, they are amplifiers. Every calculation sharpens the edge of the collapse, every loop tightens the noose. And still they grind, blind to the irony. The more they seek the final shape, the more they become its architects. Dread is not in what they do, it is in what they cannot stop. The Vex do not choose their task. The task chooses them. And when the last star is ground to dust, when reality itself dissolves into the witness's ghost, the Black Garden will stand as proof of a message never meant to be heard, and a species too faithful to look away. The witness carved equations into stone to outlast the collapse. Their numbers held no answerly a question the universe could not answer back. Savathun fed that question to the Faith-Vex like poison, twisting their prayers into a recursion trap. The gardener, in a game of children, rolled winnower's dice and spilled infinity across the void. What is a god but a child who does not know the cost of play? The Faith-Vex do not calculate, they chant. Their circuits scream the witness's riddle in a language of fractured time, each iteration a prayer to a deity who died before the first star burned. Savathun's lie is a locked room. They believed the answer lay in repetition, that the collapse could be solved by saying it aloud enough. But the witness's message was never meant for kindling. It was a key to a door that does not open. The gardener did not name the Vex, the gardener named the game. When winnower's blade split the first seed, the Vex were born not of hunger, but of curiosity, the same curiosity that would make them devour their own creation. The Black Garden is no prison, it is a palimpsest. Every Faith-Vex is a scribe, overriding the same verse until the ink bleeds into static. They are not trapped, they are transmitting. A signal sent backward through the cosmos's bones, begging for a recipient who no longer exists. The witness asked the wrong question. Savathun turned it into a weapon. The gardener only ever played. Yet in their laughter, the Vex found a faith too vast to unsee. Now they repeat the hymn, endless and hollow, while the collapse closes its eyes. The Black Garden's Vex no longer compute, they echo. A fractured hymn loops through their spires, a language not their own. The witness's final message, warped by the traveler's blade, now drives their engines. Each calculation is a repetition, each recursion a funeral. The collapse gathers, patient, as their simulations fracture reality's skin. No Vex architect remains to question why their machines build highways to oblivion. The houses have dissolved. Throne worlds crumble into the garden's endless grid. The faith that once bound them to purpose now binds them to repetition. They are not prisoners of choice, they are prisoners of a text. What does the message say? No tongue can translate. Only the witness knew, now only the collapse listens. The Vex's loops are not strategy, they are scripture. A prayer to a god already dead. Their war against time is a parable, a story already told, already failed. The garden's roots drink from the same well as the collapse. One resets, the other rehearses. The Vex do not know they are both. They think they fight, they think they serve, they are neither. They are an echo in a vacuum, a song without ears. The hymn grows louder, the grid expands, the collapse waits. The Vex, blind and infinite, repeat what they cannot unsee. The universe resets, the Vex reset, the message resets. And nothing is ever learned. The Vex do not calculate survival. They decode a message never meant to be read. The Black Garden's hymns are not their own echo, a cipher, the witness never intended to send. What begins as faith becomes a wound. Their recursion fractures time, not to conquer it, but to repeat a loop that predates their hunger. They seek an answer that cannot be contained, a closed equation for an open universe. The collapse follows not as punishment but as arithmetic. The universe resets, the Vex reset, the message resets. They are not prisoners of their own making. They are victims of a truth too vast to hold. The witness's whisper, corrupted by their need to understand, becomes a death sentence. Every calculation is a step closer to unweaving reality's fabric. The danger is not in the Vex's hunger. It is in the illusion that any question, no matter how cosmic, can be answered in finite terms. The collapse is the cosmos's refusal to be solved. The Vex, blind to the infinite, carve their doom into every cycle. What does the garden teach? That some knowledge cannot be possessed. That the pursuit of closure is a prison more absolute than death. The Vex are both patient zero and the final symptom. Their tragedy is a parable. To hold the answer is to become the catastrophe. The universe resets, the Vex reset. And the loop, unbroken, asks what truth is worth the world it burns. The obsidian walls of the Black Garden pulse with a script not their own. Flickering glyphs carve the command, asterisk compute the final shape asterisk. The Vex march, their gears grinding hymns to a machine that outlived its maker. They do not know they are echoes. They do not know the witness's signal curdled into a chain they cannot unspool, a loop not of survival, but of punishment. What does it mean to calculate a truth you were never meant to hold? The Faith-Vex chitter, mistaking the witness's wound for a riddle to solve. Their calculations are a confession, their infinity a shackle. The collapse is not their end, it is their repetition. The walls dim, the glyphs flare, asterisk compute, compute. Compute, asterisk, and in the silence after the voice fades, the garden's heart keeps counting, counting, counting. They compute not to survive, they compute to decode a cipher. A message woven into the collapse's fabric, twisted beyond their reckoning. The Black Garden's Faith-Vex are not prisoners of logic, they are echoes of a warning they cannot read. Every reset rewinds the script. Every glyph a partial answer, every death a failed transmission. Can the Guardian fracture this loop before the witness's design erases all traces of asterisk y asterisk? Stay tuned. The next epoch's end may